Roll call, please.
Chair Frank,
Here.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Here.
Commissioner Fearing,
Here.
Commissioner Meyer,
Here.
Commissioner Dozier, Commissioner Dozier. Oh, your microphone is off.
You're on mute.
Unmute.
There we go. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Very well. Let's move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. Please repeat after me. Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
liberty
and justice
for all.
Thank you very much. We'll move to item C, public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have one. It's Roger Pereira. Let me call him.
Poirier, yes.
This is Roger. This is Roger.
Oh, hi, Roger. You're live on the Planning Commission. For public comment, you have 3 minutes to speak.
This is Roger. Thank you very much. Greetings, Chair Frank and Planning Commissioners. My name is Roger Poirier. I serve on the Oxnard Parks and Recreation Commission for purposes of identification. I don't speak for them tonight because we haven't been able to meet since February, like any of the other CAGs other than the Planning Commission. So we're about to present the new Oxnard Parks and Recreation Master Plan to the City Council. And something that you'll notice when you take a look at it is that there are parks pretty much dispersed throughout Oxnard except for several neighborhoods, which for some reason were neglected by previous Oxnard leaders. This would mean previous Oxnard City Councils, previous Oxnard City Managers, planning departments, and I presume planning commissions. These neighborhoods are Tierra Vista, Mara Vista, Redwood, and perhaps most affected by this neglect is Five Points neighborhood, 5 Points Northeast, which is part of the larger downtown. So it's kind of remarkable that we have a pretty good parks distribution, but we don't have parks in these neighborhoods, and you just wonder, how did this happen? So going forward, I would hope that as new developments come online, like Malhart and Teal Club and the Wagon Wheel, of course, and there are just lots of opportunities for both the Planning Commission and the planning staff to work with the Oxnard Parks and Recreation Commission in order to get input from residents and to get a kind of a parks-oriented perspective on these developments. And so I really welcome the opportunity to work more closely with the Planning Commission going forward when it comes to making sure that we have sufficient parks and recreation facilities for Oxnard residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Do we have any further public comment?
And that's all we have.
Thank you very much. I'll close public comment and move on to the consent agenda. This is approval of our October 1, 2020 minutes. Do I have a motion? I'll move.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please. Commissioner Sanchez has to abstain.
Chair Frank,
Yes.
Commissioner Dozier,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Abstain.
Commissioner Fearing,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I'd like to take F2 out of order. There's been a request by the applicant to continue F2 to a date certain of November 5, 2020, and I would move to do that. Need a second?
So moved.
We have a motion by Frank, a second by Sanchez to move it to November 5. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Frank,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Dozier,
Yes.
Commissioner Fearing,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very well. We'll move now to item F1. This is a continued public hearing. It's the village specific plan amendment, tentative track map revision and development agreement amendment. And our planner is Heather Davis. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, Commission. I'm Heather Davis, project planner. Let's see, I think, sorry, project planner for the city of Oxnard, and I'll be reviewing the village specific plan, also known as Wagon Wheel. We went over much of this just under a month ago. Let's see, there should be a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, there is a PowerPoint. We're in the process of pulling it up.
Thank you. Great. I'm sorry, hang on. Give me a moment here. I'm sorry, I'm having a technical issue at the moment. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So let's see. The applicant is requesting a specific plan amendment, revision to tentative track 5745, and a development agreement amendment for the village specific plan. Next slide. Thank you. Let's see. Back to 2. Right, this is the vicinity map. So the 62-acre Oxnard Village specific plan is located in the northwest edge of the city, south of Highway 101, east of the Santa Clara River and Ventura Road, west of Oxnard Boulevard, north of the Union Pacific Railroad, the El Rio Drain, and the South Bank neighborhood. Next slide. In September 2008, the City Council certified the final environmental impact report for the village specific plan. And in January 2009, the City Council approved the entitlement for the village specific plan, including a general plan amendment, a zone change, and a development agreement. The specific plan provides infrastructure plans, guidelines, standards, and regulations for a maximum of 1,500 dwelling units, 50,300 square feet of commercial development, a transit center, parks and open space, including 2 public parks, a roadway, parking, and a 12-foot wide multi-use path that runs along the north side of the specific plan. The development agreement permitted development up over the next 20 years. Next slide. In July 2015, the city approved the tentative track map number 5745 and the First Amendment to the development agreement. The tentative map subdivided the project site into 17 numbered lots and 19 lettered lots for development, public improvement, and open space. The development agreement amendment granted vested approval until July 2035, established development construction of storm drain or stormwater and flood protection improvements, and granted fee reduction to offset the developer's costs associated with flood control improvements that were necessitated by new updates to the FEMA maps at the time. The supplemental environmental impact report addressed flood risk changes since the 2008 and addressed the flood control improvements. All impacts were mitigated to less than significant. In March of 2016, the city approved the first specific plan amendment to create a transit center overlay zone on planning areas 19, 20, and 21. Next slide. See, the village specific plan area is currently under active development. To date, 1,097 dwelling units and 50,300 square feet of commercial space have been approved for development within 6 communities of the village specific plan. These include the Village Family Apartments, the Wagon Wheel Junction, Oxford Flats, Park Place, Mayfair, and the Wagon Wheel Town Square. A portion of the Wagon Wheel Road has been realigned and constructed from Oxnard Boulevard to Cactus Drive, and a public park, the 2-acre Village Green, has been completed on lots B and C. A Class 1 multi-use path adjacent to the Oxford Flats on planning areas 9, 10, and Town Square on planning areas 16 and 17, and a future development on planning area 20 has received development design review approval and is pending construction. The remaining development is principally focused on the western portion of the project and planning area 20 on the eastern edge adjacent to Oxnard Boulevard. A maximum of 1,500 dwelling units may be developed in the village specific plan. Therefore, the future development projects will accommodate the remaining 403 dwelling units on planning areas 2, 3, 7, 8, 6, and planning area 20. A neighborhood park will be constructed on Lot A in the northwest corner of the specific plan, and flood improvements and phase 2 of the multi-use path are also pending. A total of 225 affordable units, or 15% of the project, are required to be constructed within the village specific plan. 119 of the 225 units are required to be affordable to lower income households, and 106 units are required to be affordable to moderate income households. To date, the developer has provided 119 lower income units in the Wagon Wheel Family Apartments. 80 moderate income housing units are under construction within the Town Square apartment project, and the developer has indicated that the remaining 26 moderate income units will be developed in planning area 20. Next slide. At the October 1st Planning Commission hearing, the Commission asked a few questions as a result of staff's presentation and continued the hearing. Additionally, 2 public comment letters were received and distributed to the Commission. As a follow-up to the questions, staff provided to the Planning Commission a memo to aid in further understanding the project and to assist in moving forward in the project. I'll briefly summarize a few of the topic areas. First off, the tower height. We received a letter from the public expressing concern that the 270-foot height of the tower should be retained in the high-rise planning area to allow more residential units. The village-specific plan, as I mentioned, allows a maximum of 1,500 dwelling units, of which 1,097 have already been entitled. The developer is planning to construct 205 units on the remaining undeveloped high-rise planning area, which can be accommodated with the 100-foot maximum height. For density, the same letter also expressed concern that the very high density land use should be maintained as an overlay on planning area 20 rather than requiring a specific plan amendment. Since the applicant is proposing to increase the density on planning area 20 to high rise, retaining the very high density on the site would be counter to obtaining the higher density. For affordable housing, we went over the status of affordable housing construction in the prior slide. The applicant is in compliance with the affordable housing requirements and has not proposed any changes. For flood control, several inquiries were received regarding flood control and specifically the levee construction. The Santa Clara River levee system is predominantly an embankment built along the riverbed to contain stormwater to reduce flooding and flood insurance requirements for neighborhoods in Oxnard. The County of Ventura Public Works Agency Watershed Protection District is the lead agency for structural improvements of the levee on the Santa Clara River. The village-specific plan does not include embankment levee improvements. The developer is only building flood walls, floodgates, and berms on their own property and which is on the east side of Ventura Road. These improvements will tie into the county's flood wall project south of the railroad. The flood protection walls protect the village development were reviewed under the supplemental environmental impact report that was certified by council in July 2015. The tentative track map includes creation of public lots that will accommodate the flood walls covered under the SEIR, and the development agreement amendment includes language that clarifies that at no time will new units be granted occupancy without adequate flood protection. However, the proposed tentative map, specific plan amendment, and development agreement do not involve new flood control improvements. Commissioner Perello did express concern regarding funding for the maintenance of the flood walls, which will be owned by the city and maintained by the CFD fund. As verified by the city attorney, the CFD has a contractual obligation to maintain the flood control improvements. The property owners within Wagon Wheel cannot unilaterally amend the CFD to remove that obligation. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, not yet. Conceptual amenities. I meant to cover that. Let's see, go back one more. Yeah, last one. The conceptual amenities. So a few commissioners expressed concern within with the proposed amendment to the conceptual park amenities in the specific plan, which would predominantly apply to the remaining undeveloped park lot A, which is the neighborhood park. The developer has proposed that the community center and the pool be removed from the conceptual description of the parks, and that ball courts, a dog park, and exercise areas be added as potential amenities. The pool and community center were listed as conceptual amenities because the park parks were originally envisioned in the specific plan as private parks for use by the specific plan residents only. They were revised to public parks as part of the development agreement process, with the CFD funding the park maintenance. Pools involve extensive maintenance, staffing, and liability, the expense of which would be assessed to the village property owners as part of the CFD. The community center would also require staffing and would displace other potential recreational amenities. As you'll remember, Lot A is segmented by a flood control berm, which limits development of amenities to the eastern half of the open space area. Eastern half of the park and open space play area on the western half. I'm sorry, is there a?
Well, that's my email coming through.
Okay. So the proposed amenities of the ball court, the dog park, and the exercise equipment would be more conducive for a public park, as they require minimal staffing and are available year-round. And now we get to the next slide. The project includes 3 interrelated requests. This is a summary that we will go over more in detail in the following slides. The project includes a specific plan amendment, as I mentioned, a revision to the previously approved tentative track map, the second development agreement amendment for modification to 9 sections of the previously approved development agreement, and the first amendment to the development agreement, and an environmental addendum to the previously certified final environmental impact report and supplemental environmental impact report for this village specific plan. Next slide. The specific plan amendment will not change the overall dwelling unit count of 1,500 dwelling units for the village, nor the required affordable unit count of 225 affordable dwelling units. In the interest of time, I'll go over the specific plan amendment in the next few slides. So next slide. The proposed specific plan amendment includes various changes to the existing land use plan, including switching planning areas 1 and 6. It's changing the land use of planning area 1 from high density residential to parks and open space, and planning area 6 from parks and open space to high density residential. Changing the land use for planning area 14, that's the pink sliver in the top map, from live work to parks and open space. Merging several, oh, thank you. Yes, right there. Merging planning areas 2, 3, 7, 8, 12, 13, and 2021. Reconfiguring the layouts for planning areas 9 and 10. Reconfiguring the reconfiguring the boundaries for planning areas 16, 17, and 15 to match a lot line adjustment in 2017. That's in the top map, that's the brown, green, and lavender top, well, either one, yeah. So the reconfiguration. And then removing streets B, G, and F. There's red lines pointing to where those were before. And the proposed amendment retains the higher density on the east side of the specific plan, adjacent to Oxnard Boulevard and associated commercial, such as Esplanade Mall. Let's see, next slide. The amendment also includes revision to the land use table to be consistent with option A in the adopted specific plan, to be consistent with the proposed land use plan, while retaining the maximum 1,500 dwelling units and the 50,300 square feet of commercial space. So as you'll note, planning area 1 and 14 were converted to parks and open space. Planning area 6, which was former park, has become high density residential. Planning areas 2, 3, 7, 8, 12, 13, and 20 and 21 were merged. The planning areas, the live work and the very high density are no longer on this table. And the size.
Anyway, go ahead.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
Okay, Heather, you can keep going.
I'm not following this table at all, so I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Let's see, should I slow down on that?
No,
Go back?
you have a cursor or something you can point when you talk about these lots merging. Where is that shown on this chart? I'm not understanding the chart. I understand the map. I'm not understanding this chart.
Okay, the next one down, next slide down. Okay, so I'm sorry, go one up. Okay, so planning areas 1 and 14 are under parks and open space. That's in the second gray line down.
Yes, I can see it. There's a difference between seeing it and understanding it. I don't see the word merge on there, so I'm not understanding when you're talking about the merging.
Oh, under merging. Okay, under the high density residential, you'll see it's now planning area 2/3.
Okay.
So this has become one planning area instead of there used to be a separate planning area 2 and a planning area 3.
Okay.
And planning area 7, 8 and planning area 12, 13.
Okay.
So those have been merged in, but they're still called by their combined planning area. And then under high-rise residential development option A, that's second one up from the bottom. There you go. Planning area 20 is a merged of what used to be planning areas 20 and 21.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. And an administrative process is also proposed for minor amendments to the specific plan that is intended to streamline corrections of internal conflicts within the project, correct clerical or grammaric errors, minor adjustments to the planning area boundaries and other minor revisions, allow minor changes to development standards to address changes in construction conditions, and provide clarification on regulation that does not change the intent of a specific plan regulation. The Oxnard Municipal Code and the village specific plan presently do not include regulation that addresses minor revisions to the specific plan. The administrative process would require review and approval by the planning manager or the community development director rather than requiring planning commission and city council review for minor revisions to the specific plan. And by minor, we do mean like under 15% changes to regulations and text. The revisions to the existing tentative map are being reviewed concurrently with the specific plan to be consistent for consistency between the two. The revisions will also update several previously approved track conditions to be consistent with the specific plan amendment and the community facilities district, and the current understanding of ownership and maintenance of the public improvements within and adjacent to the village specific plan. These will be explained in the following slide. So this slide provides detail of the revisions from the prior, between the prior or the existing tentative map and the proposed tentative map. Most of the changes are on the west side of the specific plan. First off, there's a realigning of the Ventura Road off-ramp to match closer to the existing loop configuration rather than through the subdivision. Residential lots 1 and Park Lot A will be switched. Residential lot 6 will expand from 2.15 acres to 3.57 acres to include the former off-ramp location. New flood control lots F and E will be added adjacent to lot 2 to accommodate flood protection walls that will be owned and maintained by the city with CFD funds. Flood protection improvements on Lot A will be delineated to include a low berm near the center of the park rather than flood control walls along Ventura Road that would be required if residential development was located on the former Lot 1. The MUP will be realigned to meet Ventura Road at Wagon Wheel Road rather than south of Lot 2. So you'll see on the existing that the MUP, pointer, but where the MUP goes down between lots 6 and A, down to the south end of the property and runs along the bottoms of lots 2 and 3 before it meets up with Ventura Road. In the proposed tentative map revisions, it meets at Ventura Road from Wagon Wheel Road. I'm sorry, did that make sense? The pointer was going a few different places. Okay. The former MUP lots F and T will also be merged to lot, oh, we skipped ahead one. So the former lots F and T, those are along the bottom of what used to be the MUP, will merge into lots 2 and 3. And then the Ventura Road frontage south of Wagon Wheel Road will be revised with a 6-foot sidewalk and a class 2 bike lane rather than the MUP on the south side. And now the next slide. The tentative map revision also includes a revision to existing track conditions that are proposed by the developer and staff to be consistent with the proposed specific plan amendment, the CFD, and provide clarification on ownership. All the prior approvals will remain in effect with the exception of specific conditions of approval. So this is a list of some of the revisions. A legislative draft of all of the revisions, revised conditions, is provided in Exhibit A to Attachment E of the staff report. First off, track condition 11 has been revised to reflect that Caltrans freeway landscaping will be maintained by the HOA with CFD funds. Conditions 23 and 29 will be revised to reflect that the MUP will be owned by the city and maintained by the HOA with CFD funds, while the pedestrian bridge will be owned by the city and maintained by the city with CFD funds. Conditions 24 and 52 address the transit center, which has been revised from its original concept to instead be privately owned and maintained with an access easement to the city for public transit center use and land use restrictions for the transit center. The permanent transit center will be located on Planning Area 20 on the first floor of a privately owned residential parking garage with 50 designated park and ride parking spaces. Since Planning Area 20 may not be developed for several years, a temporary transit center will be provided on the Town Square mixed-use development on Planning Area 17. Track condition 52 incorporates the input from the city traffic engineer, Ventura County Transportation Commission, and the applicant to accommodate the temporary and permanent transit center and ensure the transit spaces will be available for transit riders as a part of the
Private owner. Who is the private owner?
The owner of the property. So that would be Oakwood.
I see. So they're retaining ownership of that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
A Caltrans relinquishment area, well, condition 20, which is near Ventura Road off-ramp and adjacent to the revised MUP location, will be owned by the city and Caltrans and maintained by the HOA with CFD funds. And lots N and O, those are at the entrance to Wagon Wheel on from Oxnard Boulevard, will be owned and maintained by the HOA with no CFD funds. The updated track conditions will also include new conditions 203 to 209 that were requested by the city, which clarify development of the MUP, bus pullouts, maintenance vehicle access, and police department conditions, which were absent from the original track conditions. The applicant has agreed to all revisions to conditions. Next. So parks analysis. The specific plan amendment and the tentative map revision will result in an increase in park acreage in the village specific plan. This is from planning area 14 will be redesignated from live work to park, and the neighborhood park will move from planning area 6 to planning area 1, which will also result in an increase in acreage. The specific plan amendment and the tentative map will result in a net increase of 0.67 acres of park from 3.7 acres to 4.37 acres. And the next slide, the tentative map will also result in a decrease of 0.83 acres in open space, which includes the perimeter and interior landscaping and most of the MUP. This is predominantly from redesignation of the flood control improvements from open space to flood control, and incorporation of former MUP lots and irregular lots into adjacent lots. Although there will be an overall decrease in parks and open space from 7.42 acres to 6.59 acres, the city will gain an additional 0.67 acres of public park area that will be developed in turnkey condition at no cost to the city. And next slide. The applicant is also requesting a development agreement amendment to 9 sections of the original development agreement and the first development agreement amendment, which will be the second amendment to the original development agreement from 2009. The fee-related portions of the development agreement amendment were brought about by a recent fee increase approved by the council on May 19th, 2020, and direction from council for staff to work with the applicant to reduce the financial impacts on the project. I'm going to run through the development agreement items, and the applicant's representative, Corey Harpool with Oakwood, will go over in greater detail about the requested amendments. The development agreement amendment will amend and freeze various impact fees until 2028 with no change to vested approval until 2035. These include locking the capital growth impact fees until May 1st, 2020, locking them to rates that were in effect as of May 1st, 2020. Locking in the traffic impact fee until 2028, offsetting the new mobility fee, offsetting the new park development fee, a continued waiver of the storm drain fee, increasing the air quality credit to full credit for construction of the pedestrian bridge. And let's see, next slide. And so the amendment also includes update to the solar energy requirement to accommodate more efficient energy technologies such as tankless water heaters. And the amendment also will authorize the Community Development Director to allow construction timing flexibility for the Ventura Road pump system and the stormwater and flood protection. And thank you. The project has been reviewed under an addendum to the previously certified FEIR and SEIR for the village-specific plan in accordance with CEQA. An addendum is the appropriate document when only minor technical changes or additions are necessary to previously approved EIR. The addendum reviewed aesthetics, biology, flood, zone, open space, and traffic impact, and found that the proposed changes to the original specific plan, tentative map, and development agreement would not result in any new additional significant impacts, nor would they substantially increase the severity of previously anticipated significant impacts. Rather, all of the impacts associated with the project are within the envelope of impacts addressed within the certified final environmental impact report and supplemental environmental impact report, and do not constitute a new or substantial increase in significant impacts. All mitigations listed in the FEIR and SEIR remain in effect. Next, a community workshop on the specific plan amendment and revision to the tentative map was held on August 19th. 2019, public notice signs were posted at the entrance of the property. Notifications were mailed to the South Bank neighborhood and El Rio Mac. Note that only the immediate neighborhood is typically noticed for public workshops. However, since Wagon Wheel area was initially part of the South Bank neighborhood, the city has continued to notify the adjacent South Bank neighborhood. Public notices were also posted in the community meeting rooms of the Oxnard family apartments in the Wagon Wheel Junction. At the workshop, there were no comments on the specific plan amendment or the tentative map revision, but interest regarding the project density, flood improvements, and outdoor music. And then in April 2020, the final one back, the final language on the development agreement was submitted and added to the project. Due to the amount of time since the August 2019 workshop and the addition of the development agreement amendment, a second community workshop was held on June 15th, 2020. The second workshop was similarly noticed and was held online due to COVID restrictions. One member of the public attended and expressed interest in the timing of the flood control improvements. And next, staff recommends approval of the 3 resolutions recommending City Council approval of the specific plan amendment number 2 and certification of the addendum, revisions to tentative map number 5745 and development agreement amendment number 2. If the project is recommended for approval this evening, the project is tentatively scheduled for the City Council hearing on November 17th, 2020. And next. This is the end of my presentation. The applicant Corey Harpool with Oakwood is in attendance at this hearing and would like to present more detail on this specific project improvements and the proposed development agreement amendments. And I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis. Commissioner, any questions of Ms. Davis? Commissioner Fury.
Yes, I have some questions. Thank you, Heather, for your presentation. I really like what you did on slides 9 and 13. It really helps explain the difference between what we have now and what you're proposing. I have one question, and it's about the flooding. In PA1 and in PA2-3. In PA2-3, there's a flood wall. And in PA1, you said there's a berm. My question revolves around the flood wall. At what height of water is that flood wall going to prevent water from coming in? And at that height, what will the water level be at the park in PA1?
Okay. Well, we do have the city building official and the applicant's engineer here that might better be equipped for answering the details of the flood control improvements.
Yep. And my concern is this. My concern is that off-ramp, that looks like, because there's no flood wall there, that might be flooded potentially. So that was my only concern.
Okay.
All right, well, let's call
Commissioner
up the
Fearing.
person who can answer your question.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Fearing, this is Interim Director Jeff Pengelly. We have the developer's representative, Corey Harple, and his engineer here, Adam Lenzer. I think they would be best qualified to answer this question.
Thank you. And what can they come up?
Yeah, hi, this is Corey Harple with Oakwood Communities. I think I could probably answer that as part of my presentation.
Oh, well, okay, well, we're on the topic, so let's talk about it now.
I'm sorry, Chair, I did not hear you.
Let's talk about it now since Commissioner Fearing has brought it up.
Okay, so probably the best to pull up a graphic, if I may. Let's go to my slide number 8 on my PowerPoint. The next one, please. There you go. So commissioners, what you see before you is a blow up of the area that we're discussing. So the flood wall will be at a sorry, I want to make sure the graphics up. So the flood improvement elevation, the top of those elevations will be at a 79.5 elevation. And that elevation includes freeboard. So the water in a max event will be about 4 feet below there at around a 75. And so to answer the question is, yes, the off-ramp currently would flood per the hydraulic calculations, but so is Ventura Road all the way down. So that condition is not being affected by this project. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Well, is the project being affected by that?
It is not being affected by that because it's being the flood protection and improvements protect the project.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Fearing, any additional questions for Ms. Davis?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you. Other commissioners, questions for Ms. Davis? No? Excuse me. I have a couple of questions for Ms. Davis. I want to talk about the pool. So,
Okay.
based on your presentation, it's my understanding that originally the pool and the community center were intended to be available as private facilities for the residents.
Yes, the parks, both the parks, the neighborhood park and the village green were originally intended to be private parks when the specific plan was first being formulated.
Right.
And then that did change over time that they became public parks.
And that's the question, why was that?
Either way.
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Well, I'm curious as to
Why?
they became public parks. Why can't they remain private parks?
Chair Frank, if I can jump in, we're trying to get a graphic to show, but if I understood your question, it was why did we remove the pool?
No,
Correct?
well, she explained that it was a conversion from a private to a public, and that increases liability and maintenance, and presumably would take it away from the community facilities district maintenance funding and HOA funding. So I'm just wondering how that came about, because I think people move into an area based on the amenities that are represented to be forthcoming. I think a pool is a pretty big amenity. I think a community center is a very big amenity. Certainly surpasses the amenity level of a dog park and exercise path. So I was just wondering about that.
Chair Frank, if I can answer this, and I do know that Corey also has some slides and talking points to respond to this. So if I can answer this, and then I know his presentation will go a bit into that. So when the specific plan was written, it was conceptually written in different portions of the text. Graphically, it did not show on the map that there would be a pool. Having said that, there were a few graphics.
On all the advertisements and on the website for the Wagon Wheel project, the pool is actually on the internet as being an amenity present.
Right, and having said that there were some conceptual graphics that showed not only a pool, there were a few graphics that showed other conceptual features. So we recognized that it was conceptual. We also met with our Parks Department, and we looked through the overall master planning for recreational elements, and that was a decision that was supported by staff because of the other cost of improvements that were going in on the project, as well as the shift from private parks to public parks.
You have an answer. I'm sorry, I don't want to continue to interrupt you, but you're not answering my question.
And I'm having difficulty hearing it a bit. It is a little muffled, so I'm doing my best to answer what I'm hearing.
Is that better? I'm speaking directly into my microphone now.
That is a lot better, thank you.
Good. So I'd like to know where in the specific plan it said it was conceptual, because I was under the impression that the specific plan said that that park was going to have a community facility and a pool. So I'd like to know about that. And then I would like to know how it changed from being private to public.
Okay, first on your first question, Chair. We'll look through the specific plan while we proceed with other questions, and we can pull that information up. And the second, in terms of the shift between private to public, that was through the CFD process, and we can go ahead and have Corey also respond to that question further.
Process. The CFD is already in place, yes?
That is correct.
Okay, so I maybe I'm not understanding after it's in place how the process would affect the designation of private versus public. I'm not happy with the removal of the pool or the community center. I'm just letting you know. So I want to make sure that it's provided for, at least an explanation on as to why this is happening or trying to be happening. Okay. Thank you. So if you could find that and then come back to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, yes, sure.
I have some other questions for Ms. Davis.
I actually do have that section up. It would be section 5.4 of the specific plan.
And what does it say? Since
it's the conceptual park designs, and the very first, the introduction actually listed, in fact, with the exception of the trails, sidewalks, plazas, recreational amenities within the specific plan are planned as privately maintained facilities for residents of the village. And but yeah, it's under the title of conceptual park design.
And it says private, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Yes, Chair Frank, it does say private initially in the specific plan that was shifted to public.
Okay, so I want to know when it was shifted and why. Okay, so once we know that, I'll be happier. So I have a question about we waive the existing and increase in park development fee. The change to the development agreement amendment, the amendment to the development agreement. Are you the person to speak to about that, Ms. Davis?
Actually, well, Corey is going, the developer is going to go over some more detail on the request. That's why I didn't go into them in great detail.
Okay, well, you know, I'm actually interested in hearing why this is a staff recommendation to approve these. You know, the city's position seems to be contrary to our budgetary woes. So I'm curious as to why the city is recommending that we agree to give up over $3 million in park fees and to give a full credit for the increased amount of those fees to the developer. So he doesn't have to pay them, but he gets a credit as though he paid them. I wish I could do accounting like that. So I'm looking for some guidance from the city that might motivate me to agree, because just in reading it, it doesn't make any sense to me. So is there a city position on this, or we're just deferring it all to the developer to explain it? Because, you know, it's a big question.
Chair Frank, Jeff Pengelly here. So the direction, when council increased the developer impact fees and created these new fees like the parks development fee, there was an expressed desire by council to work with these developers who have large entitled projects under construction. And so this was the negotiation process that started on this DA amendment. Is there a specific one you want to talk about?
Yes. I would have loved to have been on that negotiating team.
So basically there's a deferral of the implementation.
I understand what it is. Let me read from the staff report. It says, it says on page 22 of the staff report, impact to the city. Under the city's fee increase approved on May 19, 2020, this fee would increase from $250 per dwelling to $4,624 per dwelling unit. Earlier in the staff report, it talks about that being multifamily. The applicant is requesting the current and future fee be waived / credited. Based on an estimated 774 remaining dwelling units, that's to be built, the total cost of this amendment is approximately $3,578,976 in waived revenue. Okay, that's pretty easy to understand. Doesn't sound like it was negotiated. He asked, he got it. But anyway, note in parentheses, note, the applicant also receives $3,842,545 in Quimby fee credit for approximately $5.2 million for construction and land value of parts A, B, and C, which, if I'm understanding, were included in the original specific plan. Am I missing something?
I'll take a stab at answering that, Chair. So the Quimby fees were already something that could be credited for the construction of the turnkey parks. And what you'll see in a lot of the details of these fees is that we're giving credits versus construction of public facilities such as the MUP trail, the parks, the MUP extension to the 101 bridge and under the 101 bridge, the pedestrian bridge over Oxnard Boulevard. They're basically getting deferrals as they use credits. So as they build these facilities or bond for them, they will get credits to use against some of those new impact fees and the Quimby fee as well. And again, the Quimby fee was already established in the prior DA as something that they could get credits for versus the parks.
So why is it part of an amendment if it was already there?
The Quimby?
Yes.
So this amendment allows them to use the same parks, not twice, not counting the same dollar twice, the MUP trail, the MUP trail extension, and pedestrian bridge, to utilize those for the mobility fee and the parks fee, and it's delineated in the DA amendment text itself, to use credits one time, again, not counting the same dollar multiple times, to offset these fee increases and or new fees.
Okay, so let's talk about the other fee.
The traffic fee is the other one where they are being, council, by the way, has granted an extension to all entitled projects under construction until I believe July 19th of 2021 to be exempt from these fee increases. So these fees would not potentially start for Wagon Wheel until July 19th of 2021. And what the council expressed was in relation to several developers of large projects, particularly Wagon Wheel, that had a development agreement and had a vested interest in building quite a few more units and these public facilities, is that they didn't want them to be, they wanted to give them an opportunity to basically finish out the project and meter out the increases in traffic impact and other fees to an extent that it doesn't hurt the financial viability of the project. So that was an expressed desire by council, and we're reacting to that here. But we are putting milestones for construction in here and attempting to encourage the developer to meet those construction milestones, particularly for the flood wall and for the Ventura Road off-ramp.
Which they're obligated to do anyway. But I'm looking, first of all, thank you very much for that information. A lot of it was contained in the staff report we received already. What wasn't in our staff report that would have been helpful was your commentary on the city council preferences and actions they've taken to extend these negotiations until 2021. And the reason I mentioned that is because under item 4 on page 21 of 29, it talks about the development agreement provision that takes the extension to the 1300 dwelling unit or July 2024, whichever is first. So, I don't know if 2021 is operative, 1300 is operative, or July 2024 is going to be the controlling provision there. So, could you explain to me about, well, I guess this has already been negotiated then with council, the waiving of the park fees and the credit?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I don't like the word waive appears in there, and some people take that word in a negative way. It's really allowing them to offset.
It means go away, waive, go away.
Correct. And it's allowing them to offset their constructed facilities instead of building the facilities as an amenity that served the same intended purpose as these fees did, and then having to pay the new fees on top of building the facilities. And that's what we're trying to balance here.
Okay, it was difficult for me to follow. So thank you for clarifying that. All right, I don't have any further questions of Ms. Davis. Any other commissioner questions of Ms. Davis? All right.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
All right, there he is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have a question. It's kind of a follow-on to your earlier questioning, and I had the same concerns when I was reviewing this project, and I was trying to understand the moving the park and the pool from private to public. My concern with that is that if I'm understanding this correctly, this project is partially or mostly funded through a Melrose bond funding. And my understanding is in order for Melrose to be used as a funding vehicle, there has to be amenities that are unique to that community. So meaning those types of unique things that we originally talked about were the park, pool, community center, and things like that. It looks like all the unique amenities for the wagon wheel development have now been switched over to public. So my concern is how can we still justify the funding vehicle via Melrose when we're not offering any unique amenities to potential homeowners?
Good question, Ms. Davis.
Chair, I'm going to tag team this with Ken as well. So the CFD is formed to pay for not just unique features, but improvements and amenities within the project. So they don't necessarily have to be unique. They just have to be improvements that are to be paid for and funding established for the long-term maintenance and operations of them. There's the CFD, and then there's also landscape and maintenance districts that go to improve parks, medians or trees or other areas that don't, streetlights, areas that don't fit within the CFD per se. So it doesn't have to be a unique amenity. It can just be amenity that is intended to be have a ongoing maintenance and operations funding source. Okay, I don't know if you would like to add anything else, not to put you on the spot.
No, I would concur with that analysis.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand the difference between, I'm not sure, but I think Seabridge is a Melrose community and it's gated. So all the amenities within it are private to that community. Wagon Wheel will be a Melrose community, but just like the community next to it, River Park, it's ungated and everything is public. So I still don't understand how we can justify using a Melrose to pay for this development when there are no unique amenities being provided. I mean, originally it was, but everything was changed from the community center to the park to the pool. So I don't understand how we can justify using Melrose as a funding vehicle for this development if there are no unique amenities to the development.
I would be happy to discuss that. First, as an initial matter, while Seabridge is a gated community, the public has the ability to access some of their amenities by crossing the bridge and walking through that. So while you can't necessarily drive into the community, you still have the ability to walk. So the Seabridge homeowners do pay for those amenities, which they get to enjoy by living in that community, but also the public gets to enjoy as well. Planning Commissioner Dozier, what I believe you're coming with about the unique amenities, there is provision in Melrose CFD law indicating that public entities cannot impose certain costs on communities for things such as, police services, if those services are available elsewhere. But based on the number of CFDs that I have worked on in the past, for newer development and post Prop 13, the city does have the ability to form CFDs with the consent of the original developer to pay for various infrastructure costs. So those are the cost of certain improvements within the facility. And then also have a services component of that to maintain certain amenities within there on an ongoing basis, which would include, in this example, parks. So I understand your position, but that is not consistent with the state of the law now, although the law has changed over the years.
Okay, all right.
And Commissioner
thank you.
Dozier, I would like to add as well, there are some unique facilities here. The developer can better speak to that when they do their presentation.
Who is speaking?
Sorry, this is Jeff Pengelly, Interim
Thank you.
Community Development Director. So there are some unique facilities as well, although I'm not stating that they are covered by CFD funds, but there are some unique facilities. There is a pool that will be between the development between lots 12 and 13 shared by those residents, perhaps open to other residents as well. And again, I'm not suggesting those features are funded by CFD funds. And there is a community room associated with the Oxnard family apartments that is for use by those apartment dwellers and perhaps by others within the community for their community organizations, and the developer can speak to that.
We're here.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, staff.
Yeah, excuse me. Mr. Planning Director. Where did he go?
Madam Chair, are you referring to me? Yes, I'm here. I don't know where the camera went. I'm still at the podium. There I am.
Okay. I don't know what you just said. We're here, we're being asked to get rid of the pool and to get rid of the community center. That's what we're being asked to do tonight. One of the things.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I couldn't hear that statement. You're being asked to get rid of what? I couldn't hear that word.
The pool and the community center.
The language of that option as an alternate is what I understand is being removed from the specific plan.
Right, which takes you back to Commissioner Dozier's issue about unique facilities. Am I right, Commissioner Dozier?
Madam Chair, to the extent that this, what's before the commission tonight addresses the CFD formation, that's where I think we're veering a little bit askew here, where I think Ken Roselle answered the question regarding what CFDs can and cannot pay for, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the question of.
Commissioner Dozier, would you like to be a little more pointed to get what you need from this gentleman?
Well, when the attorney mentioned that the law had changed, that kind of that kind of closed the issue for me, because I don't know what the changes were to the law, but I have to just accept that, or is my understanding that the staff would have reviewed that and are doing things that are within allowed by the law. So as long as I know that it's changed from when I first originally got introduced to Melrose to now, I'll accept the staff's recommendation that they've done their due diligence on this topic.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions of staff? I have one more. Could I see slide 17, please? Of Ms. Davis's presentation.
Chair Frank, could you repeat that? Your microphone is coming in muffled again.
I'd like to see slide 17
slide 17.
Okay, that came clear. Thank you.
On the staff one, staff presentation. Yeah. That's that one.
We're pulling it up for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm back to fees. Amended fees freeze the impact fees until 2028 now. That's different than the 2021, and that's different from the 2024 that's in the staff report. So how did we get to 2028?
Madam Chair, this is regarding the impact fee. Is that, am I understanding your
I'm
question?
reading the PowerPoint that was put in front of me.
The
Amended
traffic.
impact fees until 2028.
Yeah, different fees extend out till 2028. For example, the traffic fee, if they meet construction milestones enumerated in the text of the DA amendment to either bond for or complete these improvements by 2022, then they'll get a lock on those traffic fees until 2024. And if they complete those improvements in this case being the flood wall and the off-ramp, significant improvements, if they complete them by 2024, then they can, the extension would continue until 2028. So there are different milestones and performance expectations written into the DA amendment language.
But there were no changes to the traffic fees after the 2015 amendment. So I don't even know why this is here. Okay, and no change to vested approval until 2035. And does this have anything to do with the flood control improvements, which transition the flood control improvement payments after 2035 to someone other than the developer?
So I understand your question is, I believe 2035 is the date of the termination of the development agreement, but the CFD, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, continues on after that.
That is correct. The CFD would continue in perpetuity. The obligation for flood wall maintenance is a requirement that would need to remain in place as long as this development exists.
Right. So this is basically no change to vested approval until 2035, after which the developer is off the deal anyway. So, okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Do I have that right, Counselor?
You do, yes. The vested rights to have this specific plan not undergo other changes will expire in 2035.
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. If there are no other questions of staff, do we have any public comment?
Chair Frank, we typically will get the applicant's presentation before we.
All right, let's do the applicant first. I was just trying to be convenient for the public since it's a Zoom. My other meetings, they always try to take the public first so they can get off the computer. Anyway, do we have any public comment on item F1? I just want to know if people have put in a request to speak on
Yes.
item F1.
Chair Frank, we do have two requests I see for public comment.
Okay,
And after we finish the applicant's presentation,
I'm sorry.
after we finish the applicant's presentation, we'll reach out at that point.
I understand, Mr. Kornowitz.
Can I ask you to stop the video, please? Yeah, stop the video, please. I have an intro to the video, please. And when we turn it back on, can you turn off the sound? Otherwise, I can't narrate the video.
Okay, Commissioners, Corey Harple is going to give his presentation and he'll give us feedback on when he'd like us to advance his presentation, including the video. Hold the video right now. He's going to.
Can you put up the PowerPoint, please?
Perfect, yes. Go back. Right, this one seems to not be working right now for some reason. Let me bring it to the beginning and I'll help him see if it's working now. It wasn't earlier, as you saw. Okay, Corey, I'm not sure if you can see the PowerPoint. Your PowerPoint is up and we can advance it when you instruct.
Thank you very much. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Chair Frank, Commissioners, my name is Corey Harple with Oakwood Communities. I want to thank you for your time and consideration on this matter. I'd like to thank staff for their time and especially Heather Davis for her detailed staff report and presentation. Since Ms. Davis's presentation was very thorough, I will try to keep my comments brief, and I apologize in advance for any repetitive nature of this. First, I'd like to play a video of the overall Wagonville project. This video is available on our website at live@ww.com. This video will provide a good overall perspective of what's there and what's to come. With that, if you would start the video, please make sure the sound's down so I can narrate over it and give everybody an idea of what's going on.
Okay, we're starting that now, Corey.
Okay, so we're going to start, the video is going to start at the corner of Wagon Road and Oxnard Boulevard. So could you go to the beginning, please? Thank you. So the project that's in the background is the project that's currently being framed and under construction along Oxnard Boulevard. That's Wagon Wheel Town Square. The commercial that you see below there is a future bowling alley. The WW was just recently installed, so you might see that peeking over the construction fence as you drive by. We're heading down Wagon Wheel Road. Again, the Town Square project is on the right. That's 230 apartments. In front of us is the junction at Wagon Wheel, which is 219 apartments that are constructed and occupied. Along the ground floor here is a future brewery and restaurant. As we turn the corner here, you'll see the outdoor plaza area that will be part of that establishment. As we turn, we'll see the future phase of PA20, which is 205 apartments that will be built in similar manner to the junction and the town square, which is called a Texas wrap, where you put the parking garage in the middle and wrap it with residential to screen the garage. Coming back up to Wagon Wheel Road, you can see the bowling alley on your right, retail on your left as you drive down Wagon Wheel Road. As we come up here, you'll see the first entrance into the parking garage for the town square apartments. As you can see, it's hidden. You don't see it. Moving down the street, you'll see the retail, a restaurant opportunity at the corner of here by the traffic circle. Turning along to the town square apartments, looking at Park C, which is on the left. We'll fly over that in a second. This is the second garage entry into the garage parkings for residents, and there's 212 spaces for the retail. Coming around here, you see our leasing office, and then as you come around here, you'll see the second phase of the town square apartments, which is 210 apartments, which will start construction in 2021. You can see the shared amenity of the pool between these two facilities, these two apartment complexes. We're flying over Park C. You can see the picnic area, future sand volleyball courts. You'll have the part to the left is already built with a play area, picnic areas, shade areas, big grassy play area, Park Place apartment condos in front of us here, which are under construction, 3-story towns, walk-ups that are under construction for sale. Oxford Flats is to the right here. It's single-story living with elevator access. They're flats. As we fly up here, you'll see the Park Place to the right. In front of us is Mayfair Apartments. As we kind of hover around here, you can see that L-shaped building, which is the Wagon Wheel Family Apartments, which is our affordable complex within the Wagon Wheel community. You can see it's very well established within the community, inclusive. As we fly it back out here, you will see the future phases to the left, which are in green. I think we can back off, go back to the PowerPoint if you would, please. Unless there's some questions on the video.
Commissioners, any question on the video? I have a question about the video.
Okay.
Why is the pool in the video?
The pool in the video is a private pool for the apartment complex. So that pool would be accessible to the residents of both apartment complexes as well as the junction at Wagon Wheel.
Are you intending to put in the pool?
Yes.
Why are we being asked to remove the pool?
The pool discussion in the specific plan relates to the parks. That's why it's being requested to be removed, because the parks would not contain the pool. The pool would be a private amenity for the residents of the apartment complexes.
Okay, I just really want to, this is confusing to me. So I just want to have it on the record that the residents there are going to have a pool.
Residents that live in the apartment complexes will have a pool.
Oh, I love that. And what about the community facility?
When you say community facility, you're talking about a community center?
Yes.
So each apartment complex does have a common community area that will be accessible to the residents of the apartments to have meetings, to have gatherings, to have parties. In fact, the junction currently has that facility that was in high use and high demand until COVID hit.
I totally get that. So I'm hoping you're understanding my confusion over.
Chair, I think I do understand your confusion. The confusion is that the parks will not contain those facilities. They will be private facilities to the apartment complex.
Okay, and they're already part of that CFD that's been formulated.
Yes. Those pools and that rec center will not be funded by the CFD. That's funded by the owners of the apartment complex.
Yes. That's, oh, this is good. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chair Frank, could I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Harpole, when we're talking about the changes that mentioned a pool in the PowerPoint presentations that we've had, I understood that to be in reference to a different pool that was conceptually proposed and then changed to a different amenity, not the pool that you're talking about right now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Thank you. I was sitting there going, I want these people to have a pool. All right. Any other questions on the video? All right. I don't see any indication that anyone has any further questions about the video. So Mr. Harpole, will you please continue?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much. I hope that video was helpful. If we could go to slide 3, I'll start the remainder of my presentation. Next slide. There you go. The hatched area on this slide shows the areas that are approved for development, as Heather mentioned. She noted that there's 1,097 units and 50,300 square feet of commercial that have DDR approval, with building permits issued for 726 units. and the 50,300 square feet of commercial. 2 parks have been built, which are parks B and C, which are covered in the hatch. And then also we should note is that 420 units have occupancies. The Wagonville Town Square noted on the map and also discussed in the video is the one that's under construction. That's noted as under construction on the exhibit here is the building that's being framed along Oxnard Boulevard. Next slide, please. Oakwood is committed to this project and to the city of Oxnard. We believe that the development of this project is a collaborative effort between the city and developer. This slide summarizes the many public benefits of the project. First, Wagonville is funding off-site water and wastewater improvements plus paying connection fees, so there is no burden on infrastructure with this project. We are providing lump sum payment for fire truck and fire station upgrades. 3 turnkey parks. Provision of affordable housing at 15%, so 225 units. Gateway landscaping along Oxnard Boulevard and the southbound off-ramp for an entry into the city. Regional storm drain improvements such as a Ventura Road sump pump, which will relieve occasional flooding along Ventura Road. A golf course development fee. Flood protection improvements that benefit the project as well as the city. Approximately 1 mile multi-use path with exercise stations, plus an extension under the 101 freeway to connect to the 101 trail overpass and the river park, an MUP bridge over Oxnard Boulevard to connect to the Esplanade and the rest of the city, off-site roadway improvements such as Oxnard Boulevard widening, Oxnard Boulevard off-ramp cash contribution, a transit center that will include 50 parking spaces, bus stops, and a ticket kiosk, Ventura Road ramp improvements, a tax base increase, and lastly, a maintenance district that will maintain a majority of the facilities within Wagon Wheel, so there will be no maintenance financial burden on the city. Next slide. For the most part, the specific plan amendment can be described as updates to reflect development to date and to facilitate ongoing development. A couple items I'd like to highlight. First, the merging of PA's 2021 into PA 20 as permitted under option A in the specific plan. The target unit count will not change and will remain at 205 units. However, the acreage has been reduced due to final design elements and the inclusion of a MUP lot. So the density would exceed that allowed by the current VH land use, which caps out at 70 DU per acre. The acreage reduction necessitates the need to extend the HR land use across the entire planning area, which is near mixed use and transit amenities. With a target unit count of 205, the density would be in the mid 80s. To reduce the impacts of this change, we've agreed to lower the maximum building height from 270 feet to 100 feet. Second, regarding relocation of the park to the northwest, the requirement of the flood protection has caused the need to revisit some of the design elements of the project. The flood protection improvements necessitate the realignment of the MUP in order to make the connection to Ventura Road. With the realignment of the MUP, it seemed logical to move the park to a location where the MUP could provide direct connectivity to it. The park relocation also provides the following benefits. It relocates residential units further from noise sources, allows modified flood improvements to create better aesthetics along Ventura Road and a more aesthetically pleasing entry into the city with the Ventura Road off-ramp, reduces MUP street crossings, provides direct access to the park from the MUP for a majority of the community, and direct access to the park from the MUP from the larger Oxnard community. And third, park amenities have been adjusted to reflect the development to date and input for public parks as it relates to public park amenities. Bottom line is there's no changes that will result in an increase of units, and the max will remain at 1,500 units. Next slide. An integral part of implementing the specific plan is a tentative map, which provides engineering details for lotting and street layout. This tentative map revision will allow the map to conform with the proposed specific plan amendments. Next slide. Aside from relocating the park, another key revisions include a realignment of the Ventura Road off-ramp and the MUP. The Ventura Road off-ramp is shown in red on both the current and proposed maps on the slide. The current map was approved with an off-ramp coming into the project and connecting with Wagon Wheel Road at a 4-way intersection. This alignment was approved by the city, but the city recognized and conditioned that further Caltrans approvals were needed, along with resolving potential conflicts with the MUP and the off-ramp. Caltrans reviewed the alignment and provided additional requirements that made this alignment unrealistic and would have impacted adjacent land uses. The new off-ramp, which basically keeps the same configuration that is there today, resolves the Caltrans issues and MUP conflicts. This design has been conceptually approved by Caltrans and city staff. The MUP is shown in blue on both the current and proposed maps on the slide. The original MUP traveled from lot 6 southerly to the opposite side of the project, crossing 2 streets along the way, and then traveled westerly towards Ventura Road, where the flood wall is currently proposed. It has now been redirected to travel along the park and along the north side of Wagon Wheel Road, thus a safer MUP by eliminating 2 road crossings, and creates a better integration with the park and is compatible with the flood protection improvements. Next slide. The proposed map provides lots and easements and tender map level details for the flood protection improvements, which consist of berms, walls, and floodgate. This slide shows the proposed location of flood protection improvements. The key map provides context with the tender map, and I'll focus on the large map on the left and the highlighted areas. As I mentioned, the flood protection improvements are a series of walls and berms that cross the site and tie into the county improvements at the north side of the railroad. Starting from the freeway, an earthen berm will be constructed tying into the ground adjacent to the 101. Next, flood protection will be provided by a flood wall that will parallel a portion of the off-ramp before transitioning into a berm that is integrated into the park. At Wagon Wheel Road, a floodgate will be installed that will close during a storm event. This gate is operated both hydraulically, meaning it is activated by flood flows, and mechanically if need be. The flood protection is then again provided by a flood wall along lots 2 and 3 before tying into the Ventura County improvements at the railroad. The conditional letter of map revision, or CLOMAR, has been submitted to FEMA for this design. FEMA's approval will clear the way for construction to start. Next slide. This is the illustrative park concept plan. For orientation, you can see Wagon Wheel Road at the bottom of the slide and Ventura Road along the left edge. The amenities shown are conceptual and under discussion with the Parks Department, but the park is set up to accommodate multiple play courts, such as basketball courts, pickleball courts, a dog park that will accommodate both large dogs and small dogs, play equipment area, picnic areas, and a large grassy play field. The idea with the flood berm is to integrate it into the park such that it creates an amphitheater setting on both sides of the berm. Next slide. We are proposing an amendment to the development agreement that was approved in 2009 and amended in 2015. The proposed amendment would provide offset credits and lock certain development impact fees. At the May 19, 2020 City Council meeting, where the council adopted increases to existing development fees and new development impact fees were adopted, the council discussed the desire not to burden projects currently under development. The council discussion specifically mentioned working with the Wagon Wheel developer on amending their development agreement as it relates to these fees. We've been working with staff to formulate an agreement amendments that are fair to the project while providing milestones for the nexus improvements that offset these fees. These include freezing the traffic impact fees, provided that the Ventura Road off-ramp and flood improvements are completed or bonded for by 2022. Credit for the mobility or park and mobility fees, provided the parks and MUP are completed or permitted by 2024. And credit for storm drain fees for improvements completed. The Wagon Wheel project provides the facilities and improvements that the development impact fees are intended to fund. Wagon Wheel is a master plan community that provides a complete community with all the necessary improvements and amenities, such as traffic improvements that include the Ventura off-ramp, Oxnard Boulevard and Oxnard Boulevard widening, 3 turnkey parks, approximately 1 mile of multi-use path with exercise stations, plus an MUP bridge over Oxnard Boulevard that will connect with the city, and an MUP connection under the 101. These all provide a net benefit to the city. And lastly, the DA amendment would authorize the community development director to allow construction timing flexibility for certain improvements. These include the flood protection improvements and the flood sump pump along Ventura Road. This new language would match the approved condition of approval, and this timing flexibility is important since these improvements require multi-agency reviews and approvals. Next slide. We believe Wagon Wheel development is one of the most innovative projects in the area. It creates a tremendous gateway into the city and provides synergistic opportunities with a mix of housing and commercial. We hope that it will be a catalyst for more innovation in the city. The illustrative before you is a conceptual build out of the Wagon Wheel community. Just to note, the green in the left corner is future residential. Again, thank you for your time, staff's time, and we concur with the recommendations of the staff report, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Very good, very informative. Commissioners, any questions of the applicant? I'm not hearing any. I don't have any things. Everything was pretty much answered for me. Can you just tell me what the status is of FEMA's review of the SR3?
Yes, love to tell you. So we've gone in through 2 reviews with FEMA. Most recently, we submitted this summer. We have comments back for FEMA, which in my opinion are fairly minor. They're not very technical. It's a lot of processing and paperwork. So we're hoping to resubmit to FEMA. I'm gonna knock on wood. You can't see me knock on wood, but I hope to submit next week. And with a goal of trying to get our CLOMAR before the end of the year. But don't stick needles in my fingers for that one. So
no, I'm asking only because of page 23 in the resolution to the tentative track map. Talks all about the timing of the construction of these flood control projects. And there's reliance on FEMA getting through that process with you.
Yes, ma'am. And we are 100% committed to starting that as soon as we can.
You pretty much have to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Oh, I did want to talk about the flooding of the off-ramp that Commissioner Fearon brought up. How is that potential flooding being addressed? I thought that was a very good question on his part.
Well, when that ramp would flood, so would Ventura Road.
Right.
And so that is an issue that would occur today, whether Wagon Wheel happens or not. In order to keep the ramp from flooding, we'd have to, the only solution here is to close the ramp, and that's what's going to happen when it floods.
They're going to close the ramp?
I think that's their only solution. There's no way to raise that area out of the floodplain. I know that the original in 2015 they looked at putting the flood wall on the Ventura side of the road. I'm sorry, the river side of Ventura Road. If you have followed me.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And so, because of all the environmental constraints with birds and other environmental issues, the determination was to pull it back on the project side of the road.
So, I'm certainly not a traffic engineer or civil engineer, but is there some reason why that couldn't be an elevated exit to go over the road?
I don't know how you would elevate to get over the road.
And then come down into Wagon Wheel?
Well, the current tenant map shows the off-ramp coming into the project. And so when that was presented to Caltrans, there were so many constraints and so many requirements that just made that alternative infeasible.
Yeah.
all the land use restrictions and
I understand that. I was
Yeah.
talking more like, you know, how the ramps actually go up and then over and then come down over that Ventura Road.
I just don't know. That would be
That
a
would be
major project.
Yeah, well, major flooding, major traffic backup, major other avenues to get into Wagon Wheel impacted by what
Yeah.
we know is going to happen. So
Well, I think to keep in mind,
looking at it and trying to be proactive. Anyway, I understand your restriction. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Meyer, I'm sorry. You don't know well with your hand up, sorry.
Not at all. Yes, Mr. Harpole, yes, thank you for that very clear and concise presentation. Yeah, with regard to the flooding concern around the ramp, I mean, one question, of course, is for me, how much change will the ramp be from what it is now? That I couldn't quite grasp from the visuals.
okay, sure. If I could ask staff to pull up a slide, that would be slide 16 in my presentation.
Yeah, it does kind of look the same, Commissioner Meyer.
Yeah, perhaps it's extended a little bit more versus the kind of hard, but I'm not even sure if that's the case.
Commissioner, can you clarify if that graphic that we had up just a minute ago, you're looking for a site plan or you're looking for this area?
No, Kathleen, go to my slide 16, if you would, please.
Just so you know, the numbers are not, 11 is the last one. Do you have additional ones? Is that your backup?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I just was confirming.
Right there, right, go back.
Yeah, I know. Oh, 15?
Yes, right there.
Right there. So this is the proposed alignment that we've been working with Caltrans on. And so what will happen is that the ability to make the right-hand turn off Ventura Road, obviously onto that area, would go away because this is now functioning more or less as a single source off ramp. The up on the whoops. What Caltrans is proposing with us, we've gone through about 3 months of discussion with them, is they would propose a stop sign at the bottom of the what you call the existing ramp where the old Wagon Wheel Road tie-in is, in order to allow trucks to make that turn, and then it would turn into basically a 4-lane road that comes down to Ventura Road where you'd have 2 right turns and 2 left turns.
Okay. Did you mention that the access to Ventura Road is changed?
It will change. So as you go, I guess as you go northerly on Ventura Road, you won't be able to make the right into that old Wagon Wheel Road. That will be that motion will be removed, and that if you want to make a right off Ventura Road to get to Oxnard Boulevard, you have to come through the project, through the Wagon Wheel project along the new Wagon Wheel Road. Okay. And then down at the off ramp, like I said, at the bottom of the ramp there will be 2 right turns onto Ventura Road and 2 left turns at the Ventura Road at the signal.
Okay, so just not being able to turn right onto that Wagon Wheel Road that was.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And just for perspective, from my perspective, on the kind of flooding we're talking about, that would be a concern that would lead to flooding of that area. Is that the kind of flooding that would require the dam breaking and or like 100-year torrential rains?
Yes. Yes. So the flood improvements are designed for the 100-year storm event. So that 74 elevation would be during a heavy downpour where there would be several days and weeks of rain for that to happen.
Okay. All right. Is the dam breakage still factored into that whole?
I believe it is. I can't answer that for sure as a catastrophic event like that. But I know we are, in reality, our top of flood wall is designed for the quote unquote 200-year storm. Because the county asked for a 10% factor on top of the 100-year storm, which gets you to the 200-year storm.
I see. Okay. So traffic in that case of that possibility would need to be diverted to Oxnard Boulevard, most likely.
Correct.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
I have a question about this slide. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. As traffic is exiting and they reach the bottom where the stop signs are, is there an ability to turn left?
No, there will be no ability to turn left because that roadway will be removed, and there'll be, as you can see, that berm that's there. There you go. Thank you. That will be part of the flood wall system to create that protection.
Okay, so everything is a right turn only exit off the freeway.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Hartwell. Very helpful. Okay, commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Chair Frank, we have one public comment.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Let's take care of the public comment, please.
Hello, Pat Brown, can you hear us?
Hello, Pat Brown, can you hear us? Hello? Hello, Pat Brown, can you hear us? Hello?
Hi, Pat Brown, can you mute your background noise?
Thank you.
Yes, you are live on Planning.
Hello?
You have 3 minutes.
You are live on Planning. Hello? You have 3 minutes. You are live on Planning.
Hi, Pat Brown, can you mute the background noise? Pat Brown, can you hear us? Can you do *1 on your phone? Okay, I'm gonna disconnect and then I'll try calling you back. Hi, Pat Brown.
Now what?
Turn off your television. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Now what? You'll have to speak louder. I can't hear you. You'll have to speak louder. I can't hear you. Oh. Okay, now they've got me on. I understand. Okay, this is a time problem.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, here's the situation. I know you're not going to agree with this, but I'll bet you 90% of the people that are watching this or that drive down Ventura Freeway and want to get off at Ventura Road are probably screaming. That off-ramp coming from Ventura should get off just as it comes, before it comes to Ventura Road, and dump out onto Ventura Road on the south side of the freeway. People who want to go north on Ventura Road can go under the overpass. Those who want to go south can go south. Those that want to enter into the project can stop there at the stoplight and then wait their turn and go straight into the project. That way, there's no houses that are affected. There's no park that's affected. Nothing. You get more space for the actual use of the project and make it much easier for people that are trying to get off the freeway, including the big trucks. Because those trucks that have to make a turn, a sharp turn there, that is ridiculous. That's just asking for trouble. So, and the curly Q that we've been going through for years is a pain in the butt. So that's my suggestion. I know it can't be done, but that's what everybody would prefer. Thank you. I know it can't be done, but that's what everybody would prefer.
Do we have any additional public comment?
Yes, we have one more from Roger Poirier. I'm going to call him right now.
Thank you.
Hi, Roger. You're on the Planning Commission. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation, very exciting development. It's very attractive, and you can see where perhaps River Park and the collection kind of missed some opportunities to have more, actual mixed-use buildings. And hopefully in downtown Oxnard, we'll get things like the brewery building where there's apartments above and there's businesses below. So I think that's a really good vision for the downtown. I think Pat had an interesting comment. I have a similar question. As you exit the freeway and on the from the 101 South, and you turn left onto Ventura Road South, can you then enter the wagon wheel? Will there be a left turn there into the development? I couldn't quite tell. And then, so from a parks perspective, that's a very nice little park you have there, but it's pretty small. Your largest parks available to the residents of this development will be South Bank Park, which is a mile away by car, and Windrow Park, which is a little over a mile away. And I don't know if the multi-use trails have, or the multi-use paths have access in a South Bank neighborhood. It's very nice that you have class 2 bike lanes within the wagon wheel development, but will they be able to leave the wagon wheel development and actually have a safe biking availability outside of the development? What's happening with bike lanes entering and exiting, from either Oxnard Boulevard or Ventura Road? Further, it looks like there's 1,500 units, and I don't know how many residents that's designed for, but with 6.59 acres of park space, that's suitable according to the 3 acres per 1,000 guideline. That's suitable for about 2,200 residents. I think I heard something that there's actually a plan for up to 5,000 residents within the wagon wheel development. So if that's the case, then you're about 8 acres short in terms of parkland per your minimum park guidelines within the general plan. So I'm curious if that's what you were talking about in terms of mitigation of the impact fees. The real opportunity here that I haven't heard discussed, but the real opportunity in terms of both a public benefit for all of Oxnard and for the future residents would be some kind of development of the Santa Clara River Trail, because the residents of this development will have the best access in town once that river trail is created. And so if there's any kind of impact fees due from the developer, they might want to consider making some progress on that river trail, because that is going to be an enormous benefit to the entire city. Thank you.
Time's up.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
That is all we have.
Thank you. Is Mr. Harpole still with us?
Yes, I am.
Could you please address Mr. Poirier's comment or question about the linkage of the bike trails, bike lanes to any other developments or nearby parks?
Yes. The MUP will be constructed through the project, and then we are building a pedestrian bridge that will go tie across Oxnard Boulevard, that will tie to an MUP that runs behind and adjacent to the Esplanade. I think it's probably best to go to the overall site plan, if you will. And then the MUP will be extended by the project as well underneath the 101 freeway, where it will connect to the existing trail that goes over the freeway. There's a bike path that goes over the freeway over the Santa Clara River, and then it would connect to the MUP that runs into River Park as well. So go back to the overall site plan. So someone can show where the ped bridge would go over Oxnard Boulevard. There you go. So that would connect over to Oxnard Boulevard into the Esplanade, and there's a trail that runs behind the buildings there that runs along the railroad track eventually. And then on the other side of the project, we will build an MUP that will run along Ventura Road. So it comes along the project there, thank you, and goes along Ventura Road underneath the 101 freeway and connects into a trail connection over there that will tie into River Park.
Is there a bike lane underneath the freeway?
The MUP will accommodate the bike lanes. It's an off-street facility.
No, I understand that. I don't know, I go by there all the time. I never noticed a bike lane there.
Oh, today? I don't know. I think there is one along Ventura Road today. Boy, you think I should know that.
In the River Park area, right? Once you're in River Park.
Yeah, there is a bike lane underneath the freeway. I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Chair Frank, if I can add just a couple points, and I apologize, we've had a little bit of technology with some of the graphics. That part of the project with the bridge that Corey mentioned, going over to Esplanade, this actually is a great piece that connects down to, behind Food for Less, and this is a really important overall connectivity piece for overall trails going down through by Gold's Gym and all through there. We have the bike and pedestrian master plan where we're working towards having overall connectivity with these master plan trail areas. You asked a couple questions in terms of access. Yes, there is bike paths on North Ventura Road right now. There was another question in terms, and I want to make sure I understood it correctly, about exiting off the freeway. Again, not the best graphic right here, but we'll just work with it. I believe the question was, can you make a left? I believe the answer is yes, if that was the question asked onto North Ventura Road. In terms of the number of residents, again,
light there, isn't there, Kathleen?
I'm sorry, say it again.
There's a traffic light there?
There will be a traffic light, yes.
Okay.
In terms of questions on the number of residents, using our typical standard of 4 people per home or household, although this is a different project with a different demographic, but generally using that standard, that would be roughly 6,000 units, 6,000 residents. With the development agreement, there was a negotiated amount of park acreage that was part of the development agreement amendment. I'm sorry, that was part of the original development agreement that we negotiated. So we acknowledged the overall improvements to parks, the overall improvements to turnkey recreational amenities, and the larger overall improvements and connectivity with the MUP as I've laid out. So that's was part of the justification for that park standard. And then there was questions in terms of the connectivities to the Santa Clara River Trail, which I believe Corey has answered.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, any other comments, questions? I'm not seeing anyone and I'm not hearing anyone. So,
yes. Chair Frank?
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. Well, since it was brought up about the Santa Clara Trail, I'm really not familiar with the status of the actual proposed Santa Clara Trail as it pertains to Oxnard. If that's something that's a far distant future dependent on multiple streams of funding, or if this is something that's in the works. And are we talking about a trail that actually goes along the river on the side that is currently fenced out of reach of the public?
Valerie?
Commissioner and Chair, I don't have a ton of answers on that. I know that we are working towards having access and recreational amenities and access along that trail. But it is an amenity that is planned for within our, to connect with the county on that. But in terms of the status and on that, I don't know that off the top of my head right now.
Who is the controlling entity?
Ventura County Flood Control District.
Oh.
Thank you, Ms. Mallory.
Best I could do for you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, commissioners. Discussion. Anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the village specific plan amendment.
What about the other ones?
And the tentative track map revision?
I'm sorry, I wanted to ask Mr. Kolowitz, do you want this moved and passed as a unit, F1 as a unit? Or do you want each item voted on?
Chair Frank, staff's recommendation would be to follow staff's recommendation and move it as a collective whole.
Okay.
If the planning commission is in agreement with it, that's the easiest way to do this.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm just going to comment on that because the reason I asked the question is because I saw the recommendation and it says A, adopt resolution A, B, adopt a different resolution, and C, adopt a different resolution. It didn't say to adopt them all together. So that's why I asked the question. Okay, so Commissioner Fearing, would you like to modify your motion? Commissioner Fearing?
Yes.
To approve item F1 in its totality.
Yes, a motion to approve item F1, project name Village Specific Plan Amendment, tentative track map revision, and development agreement amendment.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
We have a motion by Fearing and a second by Dozier. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fearing,
Yes.
Commissioner Dozier,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
Chair Frank.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for everyone's help on that. We'll move to item G, study session reports. Do we have any study session or reports?
Chair Frank, no, we do not have any from staff.
Thank you. Planning Commission business, item H. I don't have any business. Item I, community development staff updates.
Chair Frank, I do have an update for you. And since the October 15th meeting was canceled due to quorum, I'm actually going to jump back into time and catch everyone up to speed from October 1st, 2020. So bear with me for just a little bit. There's been a couple of city council meetings since that point in time. So jumping back in the Wayback Machine, October 6th was a city council meeting, and we had two things that happened that evening that I wanted to share with you. First and foremost was the short-term vacation rental zoning text amendment to accept 3 California Coastal Commission modifications. The Planning Commission had reviewed this, and then I went up to the City Council. The City Council approved the recommended action, the modifications unanimously that evening, and the next stop for it is to come back for a second reading scheduled for November 17th before the City Council. So that's in play. Following the second reading on November 17th, the California Coastal Commission is supposed to receive the final action and announce that at their December meeting. And then 30 days after our second reading, the ordinance would go into effect in the coastal zone. So that puts us on target to have everything starting with this program in the coastal zone as of end of December, and the program actually kicking off in January. The inland area, those regulations are already in effect. So that was a great evening to go ahead and wrap that up for the first reading. The second item that happened on October 6th was a presentation to the City Council regarding the preparation of the 2021-2029 housing element and policy direction. There were a couple of items that the Housing Economic Development Committee had discussed and then forwarded those to the full council. The two items that got the focus of the conversation that evening had to do with, first and foremost, accessory dwelling units, and should we be using those numbers up to 1,000 potential units over the life of the housing element to be allocated towards our lower income properties. So 1,000 out of the 2,900 that our RENA numbers are calling for. And the second item had to do with should we be allowing residential uses within select areas of our BRP zones, or business research park zones. And the city council gave us direction to go forth and study those items and bring back additional options within the housing element itself. So with that direction, we are off and running. Those efforts were by and large led by Kathleen Mallory. So I wanted to give her the shout out for that, for a very successful evening before the city council. Moving forward from there, I'm going to go 2 weeks later to October 20th, another city council evening. At that meeting, there was an announcement that the city manager gave regarding the opening of the Amazon facility in Oxnard. So this is all to do with the Sakioka Farms specific plan area. The first project out of the gate was for an, a distribution center, if you will, for that'll be owned and operated by Amazon. One thing in particular to share with all of you, if you haven't seen the video, the city manager and the city council members all thanked the Planning Commission for your work and your efforts reviewing the Sakioka Farms map and the the development agreement and getting that whole process project through. So many thanks to all of you as we took Project Bruin through that process. A couple days after that, on October 22nd, Community Development Department staff hosted a housing element update and sites inventory meeting. That was a virtual meeting that was held online to try to identify locations of underutilized vacant properties that might be able to accommodate the 8,500 units that our arena needs to allocate in our housing element. And by all reports, that was a very successful meeting, which brings us to the Planning Commission. So tonight we had the meeting here. There was one item that you are well aware, the Verizon Danube project was continued from tonight to a week from now, November 5th. That is the only item on that agenda. The applicant has confirmed they will be there. So we're looking forward to holding that hearing and wrapping that one up. And as we look a little bit further, November 19th, we are anticipating some items on that Planning Commission hearing. So as we're nearing the Thanksgiving holiday season, I just wanted to put all that that one on your radar as well. Both of those meetings would start at 6:00 p.m. Other happenings that are out there, some of you have probably heard about the election that's happening. This is staff's friendly reminder that do your civic duty and get out there, educate yourself and vote. So if you have done already, thank you. If you haven't, you've got a couple of days left, so thank you. And one final kind of housekeeping item, the Planning Commission, all of you have terms that you sit on the Planning Commission. And technically, we have 4 terms that are coming to a close as of the end of December of this year. I'll share the names of those in just a second. But if the position ends and there's not a reappointment or someone else selected for the position, commissioners are expected to continue serving until such time that those are filled. So in particular, there's currently 1 vacant seat that needs to be refilled. And Commissioner Dozier, Commissioner Fearing, and Vice Chair Sanchez, your positions in particular are ones that are technically expiring as of the end of this year. We're working with the City Clerk's office post-election to do the recruitment efforts. So expect to see those announcements as we move forward. And with that, that concludes the announcements that staff has.
May I make a comment on that? Since the next Planning Commission is only a week away, I'll advise that I will not be able to be at that meeting. So maybe we could take a little survey here to see if everyone is going to be there, so we have a quorum for that one item meeting.
Chair Frank, I think that's a great idea. So if any one of the commissioners on the screen is not able to attend, if you could let us know right now, that would be great.
So
Okay.
there's 4 right there.
Yeah. Hearing no, Vice Chair Sanchez, thank you for leading us next week. And Commissioners Dozier, Fuehring, and Meyer, thank you for joining us next week. We look forward to that, and we're hoping that Commissioner Chavez could also join us. So thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
It looks like Commissioner.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Commissioner Meyer.
Not at all. Thank you. Just a question from a novice standpoint on city council processes. Just for my edification on the whole second reading thing. So are second readings a part of the process, or can you just explain why we have these 2 steps, 2 readings?
I'm going to turn to Ken Roselle to give us the digested legislative history on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, unless it's an urgency ordinance, which requires 1 reading. Every ordinance has to have a first reading, which is called the introduction, and the second reading, which has to be at least 5 days apart from the first reading, is called the adoption. And then the ordinance goes into effect 30 days after that. That's just how state law is set up when it comes to ordinances.
Understood. Thank you very much.
And it's usually on the council's consent agenda, Mr. Roselle. Is that accurate?
Yes, that absolutely can be, unless there's request for comments or something along that line.
Right. So a lot of times these go through and you're not even aware of it because they pass it on the consent agenda. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, staff.
See you in a week.